The Cardiac Canes did this to me again. Miami gets the dub. They escape 29-26 in overtime against Virginia.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
6-2. I'm Alex Donno. Happy Sunday. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We are available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Yes, the Miami Hurricanes escape. Despite Tyler Van Dyke not playing well, returning from injury, throws 2 interceptions, Miami Hurricanes are able to overcome. Stout defense, clutch plays from your running game. Mark Fletcher scoring the walk-off in the OT on an 11-yard touchdown. Javion Cohen literally paved the way for him to score that TD. And we're able to talk about a victory. Relief is what I'm feeling. And it's time to assemble the Avengers. Yes! Alex Donno alongside Hoodie Girl, who is to my left, Chalupa Batman down below. And Chalupa, I got to start with you because I'm giving you credit because early on in that game, you're the one who called it and said the true freshmen are going to win this game for Miami. Rueben Bain came up big yet again, as he does week by week. Mark Fletcher returns from injury. He scores the walk-off TD. So, yeah, the freshman played a big role in that win.
It just felt like there was something in the water, Donno. It just felt like early the way Bain looked unstoppable, and then Jaden Wayne had those 3 plays in a row where he combines on the sack with Rueben Bain, gets the tackle, and then on the third play, him and Rueben Bain combined for the pressure. It just felt like we all knew that the freshmen they'd make an impact early, but towards the middle and the end of the season, they'd start to really stamp themselves as Canes. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think yesterday was really our 2023 class saying we have arrived. We're not baby Canes anymore. We are Canes. We won that game because of that 2023 class last night.
Yeah, and Melissa, it's not even just yesterday. It's really been the last 2 weeks. I mean, going back to the win over Clemson, Miami had Emory Williams, the true freshman quarterback, starting. Rueben Bain had the game of his life last week. Bain pretty much does that again this week, and Mark Fletcher takes over in overtime. The future is bright, and I know we're all relieved, Hoodie Girl, that Miami was able to get that dub yesterday.
Well, I mean, also some other people, you mentioned Bain, you mentioned Mark Fletcher, but let's not forget, Jaden Wayne was in on some of these snaps, and he had some tackles too. Listen, this is the future of our program, and it looks very, very bright. Mark Fletcher had some amazing runs there in overtime, especially, I don't know if you watched his post-game interview. He's hilarious. But he said he's like, I was feeling a little bit down after I dropped that toss, whatever. But Coach Harris, said, don't worry about it. You got this. And good thing for depth in that running back room, because we're looking a little rough right now. But it seems like whoever we put in that backfield, they're able to do their thing. So, but yeah, no, that freshman class, man, hopefully recruits see this and say like, hey, look, this is what we can do if we come in and we keep the momentum going and keep stacking that next recruiting class.
I want everyone to know we're talking about the good. We will talk about the bad on this episode because Miami, they were 18.5-point favorites against a team that came in. I know they just pulled off a big upset last week at Carolina, but Virginia comes into this game 2-5 on the season. Hurricanes were favored by 3 scores. So I know what's already happening. They're like, there goes Donno, the sunshine pumper. We should have blown that. They should have won this game by 50, and this guy's celebrating an overtime win. Believe me, we're going to get to that. But at the same time, let's not forget, folks, and we've obviously seen it the last 2 weeks with Miami grinding out close wins, overtime wins. A few weeks ago, Miami did lose a game like this against Georgia Tech that never should have been lost. But I'm also not going to downplay the importance of learning how to win, because that's something last year this team didn't know how to win ugly. They only knew how to lose ugly, right? And Miami has already surpassed their win total from last year. So would I have preferred blowing out Virginia by 50? Of course. Did Miami underachieve even in victory? I don't know if the players and coaches would say that, but I think it's probably fair from a fan standpoint to say that. At the same time, Chalupa Batman, it is important, my friend, for a team to learn how to win ugly and grind out W's under any means necessary. That's a skill that can take this team far in the future.
Sometimes you have to win the games you have no business winning, even if it means you have no business winning because you shot yourself in the foot. No one has ever accomplished anything in sports without a little bit of luck.
Right.
You can ask the 72 Dolphins. You can ask, every ring that's on Tom Brady's finger. Lady Luck played a part in there somewhere. Sometimes you just have to find a way to come together and get a W. I mentioned it yesterday when I did a post-game show with someone that look at Clemson right now or USC after that loss from Notre Dame. It has been a downward spiral. This Miami team last year after that Georgia Tech loss, it would have been USC's season this year.
Yes.
We are seeing a more resilient team this year, but they're young. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. There's new voices in that locker room. They're all having to learn how to play together, win together, lose together, how to hold each other accountable. And we are seeing that with this team. We're seeing a team that does not get down on themselves, even when it's themselves shooting themselves in the foot. And I think that's the mental toughness we all wanted to see this year. And we're seeing that play out. And we're seeing it play out from the fifth-year senior all the way down to the true freshman. We see that next man up mentality and that trust and belief in each other. After all these close wins, what do you see? You don't see one guy celebrating. You see a sea of canes.
Yep.
Mark Fletcher couldn't finish his post-game interview, not out of disrespect. It was because his brothers could not wait to
all
go
the
love
offensive
on
linemen.
him.
Yeah.
All the offensive linemen.
And he couldn't be asked to do the interview because he could not wait to go love on his offensive line. We're seeing a team that trusts and believe each other, and you learn how to win by trusting each other. We're seeing this happen in real time. It's the growing pains, building something special. But for every Georgia Tech, while you're building something special, you learn how to convert that into a Virginia. You got to take the good with the bad. The score column says W at the end of the day.
Amen to that. We're going to crown each of us our MVPs of the game when we come back. I want to give a special shout out to one of these players. I don't think any of us have him as our MVP, so consider this an honorable mention. AJ Allen. He provided,
sweet feet.
Dude, that was maybe the highlight of the season so far for Miami, or at least one of the top offensive highlights of the season. The balance, the athleticism, the vert that he got on that hurdle.
That was crazy.
To do that at turbo speed on his 26-yard touchdown where he hurdled over the defender, to do that at turbo speed and to keep his balance, because that I think was the toughest thing, because oftentimes you see a hurdle like that, you'll pick up a couple of extra yards from the hurdle, but then you're falling over and the play is done. He somehow is able to keep his feet churning. He's able to keep his center of gravity low, and he ends up going, an extra 15 yards into the end zone for a touchdown. That was one of the plays of the season, but we will each crown our MVPs when we come back. We got the Avengers here assembled. And as we like to say, my friends, we are only getting started on this recap episode on Locked On Canes. I am only getting started with eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. To the everydayers, we love you. Make sure you sign up to Locked On Canes Insiders. You can click the link in the show description below. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours, breaking news, recruiting scoops, pregame and in-game observations. You can try it free for 14 days. Click the link in the show description below. If you like it, you can opt in after 2 weeks for $4.99 a month. We give you a lot of added value on there. So yes, We will talk about the quarterback play in a moment, but let's keep the sunshine pumping going here for another second. Melissa, Hoodie Girl, who was your MVP from Miami's 29-26 win over Virginia?
Well, Donno stole mine, so that's what I was going. I was going to say that, but we had to discuss this prior. Huh? No, I know who you're going to say, but
oh, you know,
despite we discussed this before, so we all wouldn't pick the same person. So I picked last. So I'm gonna go with our safeties. I'm gonna go with James and Kam. Kam had that big pick six in the beginning of the third quarter. I feel like Virginia's wide receiver, Washington, was kind of churning us up in that first half. And we started to calm down a little bit in the second half. And then both Kam and James had big tackles in that overtime possession for us on defense. So I think just having those two in the secondary always gives us a chance to make the play. And like that pick six actually, put us ahead for a little bit. I thought we were getting the momentum there. But I'm not going to drown out our sunshine talk right now. So I'll leave it at that. But I'm going to go with our safeties and pick two guys and pick James and Kam.
What about you, Chalupa?
I'm going to go with a guy that I feel like he showed up on the stat sheet today, but his contributions don't normally show up on the stat sheet. I'm going to go with Branson Deen, the defensive tackle, a guy who has had a great year so far when he's out there. He's had a little bit of injuries so far, so we haven't seen him in the full season. However, this guy is just disruptive in the middle, quick up the field constantly. He just destroys whatever blocking scheme you have in place because he is going to get penetration up the gap. Last night, 2 sacks. He's credited with 2. I think it was probably more so 1.5, but he's credited with 2. So let's go ahead and give Branson Deen his 2 because interior defensive linemen don't always, get those. But what Branson Deen has been able to do in the middle, you haven't been able to see on a stat sheet because you've seen Kiko Mauinoa and KJ Cloyd and Wes Basaint on the stat sheet. He's keeping the linebackers clean, eating up blocks in the middle, making sure these guys do not get to the second level. And we're seeing what that does for a linebacking core. Mauinoa is like the top graded linebacker in college football. And that's because you got unsung heroes like Branson Deen doing the dirty work in the trenches. So I had to give him a shout out because he got 2 sacks too. He's just been balling and he's been playing inside, outside. He's under the radar, but that's what a defensive tackle does. They do the work that does not show up on the stat sheet. He has been amazing this year.
I'm going with the kicker, Andy Borregales.
Let's go. Automatic Andy.
3 for 3 for automatic Andy, and these were all difficult kicks. 47, 48, and 50 yards. He was talking after the game about how, because, you get an idea when you're going through warm-ups and you're kind of feeling out the wind conditions. And he said he would have been good for 61 yards on that day if it came down to needing to. And I believe it too. This isn't one of those things. Yeah, like Uncle Rico, throw it past those mountains over there. Like, no, this guy is for real that he could have gone for 61 yards if he needed to. The leg was there. The accuracy was there. And listen, this was a game that obviously came down to just a few plays on either side. The same way Miami doesn't win that game if Kam Kinchens doesn't have a pick 6 that Melissa talked about. If Miami misses any one of those difficult Borregales kicks, Miami does not win that football game yesterday. So I'm going with Andy Borregales as the MVP. All right,
Andy seems to come up big against Virginia every single year.
Yeah,
his freshman year he actually missed that kick to win it. But last year we were dependent on him going into the overtime period. And then this year again, it's something about Virginia. I guess it's because his buddy is the kicker on the other team who's also from South Florida. So it seems like it always comes down to the two of them.
And by the way,
plenty of leg on that 50-yarder too. He barely tapped that thing.
Yeah,
it looked like he kicked it as if it was an extra point. He barely tapped it.
It wasn't even like, oh, it just made it through. Like they were down. All 3 of them were like down the middle, and he broke a record for Miami. Like it's like the first kicker in like 10 plus years or something to hit 3 field goals over 45 yards.
No. You know whose record he broke?
Who?
Jose Borregales.
He broke his brother's because Jose has 3 over 40, but Andy has 3 over 45. They're the only 2 to have that in Miami. Yeah,
that is awesome. Now, someone who was not the MVP yesterday, and he'll be the first to tell you because I did hear him interviewed after the game, and he knows he wasn't good. was Tyler Van Dyke. And I know there's going to be a lot of second guessing from fans if he should have even started that game, because we know throughout the week, just as last week, and I'm not making excuses for him. This is just what it is. He was playing through injuries. He and Emory Williams did split reps, first team reps throughout the week, but TVD, they deemed him healthy enough to play. And it wasn't like, I'm not going to say he didn't play well because of, him being a little bit hobbled, because he was making poor decisions, Hoodie Girl. His interceptions, he was trying to force things, and specifically on the first interception, which really hurt you because Miami was driving into scoring territory, where he ends up underthrowing his guy X. You had multiple checkdowns available, and you had people open on that field, but he tries to force it to Restrepo. And Van Dyke said it after the game that I've got to learn that sometimes you have to take the checkdowns. You don't need to try to force things. At the same time, he's had games like this now multiple times this year, because he's had 7 interceptions thrown in his last 3 games played. So is the third time the charm? Is this when TVD figures it out, or are we in for a long-term problem this season, Melissa?
If those that have read my tweets or have had conversations with me, I've been the biggest TVD advocate all season. And even into last season, I thought he got gaddised. He was injured,
Catfished.
had a horrible offense. So I've been the biggest TVD advocate. And this past game, I even tweeted out, and I wasn't slandering him. I was just like, I don't have any excuses for him now. Like, yeah, he said in his post game, okay, I need to use the check down more, and I need to make better decisions. That first interception to X, I don't think that was a bad decision. Yeah, he did have some check downs open, but if he throws that ball better, that's a touchdown. X was open. It wasn't a poor decision. He just threw a horrible ball. So I'm not going to hate him on that. Some of his other throws and that other interception and stuff, yes, they were poor decisions. He's trying to do too much. And I understand he wants to win. People may look at him and see that he doesn't have a lot of emotion and thinks he doesn't care. He cares. He wants to win. You can tell it in his post game. You can tell how he reacted with Emory Williams winning last week. He wants to win. Yes. He cares, but he really needs to go through his progressions and go through his decision making. He has time to make these decisions. We have a great offensive lineman. They're giving him time to throw the ball, but him and Dawson need to have a sit down and discuss his decision making and discuss. It's okay to throw the ball out of bounds. It's okay to maybe take off and run and then either find a receiver or throw the ball out of bounds. It's okay to use the check down. You don't have to get the first down. If we have to punt, we have to punt. But the decision making needs to be better. And like I said, that first interception, honestly, it was the right play. He just threw a horrible ball. X was open.
What about you, Chalupa?
He can be infuriating at times, because there's times when we see the Tyler Van Dyke that we know, the TVD that we know him to be, the A&M TVD. And then you see him, and it seems like he goes through these ruts, almost like a baseball player, where he's in a slump, where he's just not seeing the field. He's not able to process or see the field correctly. And it feels like a baseball player in a slump sometimes with him, because then when he gets out of it, it's 300 yards, it's 4 TDs, and it's bombs away. And I don't know if it's a combination of the injury and some mental aspect of it as well. But the decision making, to Melissa's point, is the thing that's the most frustrating on the X interception, the first one. We ran this motion with Brashard Smith about 3 or 4 times where we snapped the ball. It's a Tyreek Hill motion. He got it straight from Mike McDaniel. I'm glad he's incorporating some of that. Dumped the ball to Brashard. He's wide open twice. And then right on the other side, you got Fletch open as well. But to Melissa's point, I don't even hate that he threw the ball to X, because if you lead him to the pylon like that throw is supposed to be thrown, it's either a touchdown or it's 1st and goal. But it's the decision making, not just a decision to throw that ball, the decision to throw that style of ball with that much air under it. So then I start questioning, is the finger okay? Because the zip doesn't seem to be there. And then the interception, that's just, I'm not understanding what he's seeing there. And that goes back to, is he not seeing the field the way he has been seeing the field in the past? Is there something Is it something defenses are doing that he can't adjust to, or is he just in a rut? I think sometimes guys are just who they are. I think TVD is a good quarterback. I think the fan base is a little too hard on him. He may not be a great quarterback, but he is a good quarterback. My analogy is Andy Reid with the Chiefs. I think when Mario came in, he wants to rebuild this team the same way Andy Reid wanted to rebuild the Chiefs. We assumed TVD was the Mahomes of that story. I think TVD is the Alex Smith of that story. He's the guy that stabilizes the room and the position for a year, maybe even two, because this is not the tape he wants to show the NFL.
No.
But I do think TVD does serve a purpose. I do think at the moment he gives us the best chance to win.
Agreed.
However, if you feel like he does not, the second you make that call and go with Emory, you do understand that you have to stick with Emory.
Right.
Because you can't do that to him. You can't Jake Garcia that kid. If you're gonna go with him, you gotta go with him. So I think maybe that's why they're trying to give TVD the chance to hold on to his job, because that sends a different message to the locker room, to the team, to the quarterback room if you turn it over completely to 17.
I think
I don't know, and I don't know the answer there,
rust?
right? Like I don't know the answer. There could be, he didn't get a lot of practice in the previous week. We didn't find that out till midweek, to the end of the week. But Emory took all those first team snaps the week of Clemson. Could there be rust? But then there's the honest Hurricane fan that is in the comments right now is going to say, Donno, CB, Hoodie Girl, this is our 4th year senior quarterback. I don't want to hear rust. So I understand both sides of the argument. I don't know what you do there, though, because it is a slippery slope if you go to Emory too fast.
Yeah.
So and you have a winning football team. This is a team that, this isn't a rebuild year.
Finding a way to win.
You know what I mean? That they're finding ways to win. So do you send that message? I don't know, guys. I don't know. That's a slippery slope, especially for Dawson. You know what I mean? He's not just the OC. He's the quarterback coach as well. So I think it's rough, and I know it's hard to say, but we probably go with 9 because he probably gives us the best chance to win right now.
And can I just say, first of all, I agree with Donald, but also let's also remember that he's a human being. And we're all very passionate Canes fans. And I even have to stop myself sometimes when I'm writing things on Twitter. There is a possibility when people start writing, oh, he's trash, bench him, 9's the problem, blah, 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 that he's going to see this. Emory Williams is a true freshman.
And his family as well. It's easy sometimes.
Emory Williams is a true freshman quarterback who is not ready to be the starting quarterback for this team. If we throw Emory in there, there is going to be a lot of growing pains. And is that going to be good for his psyche? I don't know. Is Emory the future? He's starting to look like that. Like he's starting to look like, oh, this could be our guy in the coming years. But I agree with Chalupa. I think TVD is our best chance to win. And we've seen what TVD can do when he's on it. He can throw for 400 yards. He can throw for 4 touchdowns. But even when I was tweeting about like how poorly he was playing, I was being very careful with my words. Because again, they see this, and at the end of the day, he's a Miami Hurricane, and we need to support him. So I've even deleted a few tweets because I'm like, you know what, I don't want to. I don't. This is a human we're talking about. This is a fellow Kane family member. So just be careful when you're putting these things out in public. Because you know what, and I hope, and I said it on the post game on 6 Canes last night, I hope TVD comes out next week and has the game of his life against NC State. Like I just
make no mistake about it. Tyler
when he wants
to play well.
2 years ago, he was money against NC State. Do you remember that as a redshirt freshman? He talked a little trash during the week, which I loved, and then he went out there and backed it up.
He needs to get out of his head because he has all the talent in the world. And again, we don't know if it was rust, if it's injury, or what's going on. I don't want to make excuses for him, but I want to see that Tyler Van Dyke that we saw against A&M. Yeah. We know it's there. We need to go back to 4-0 Tyler Van Dyke. I'm rooting for him so hard. I've been the biggest Tyler advocate all season and last season. We know he can do it. We just need the consistency, and I hope he finds it because I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, we're all Canes.
I want to one last point to this. If we as a fan base honestly do feel like it's time for Emory, I just would like people to understand that the patience you don't have for Tyler, you're going to need to have for Emory.
Yes.
And that's no slight to Emory. Emory is the future of this football team, but that means we have to protect our future. So some games you're going to see 2 yards in a cloud of dust from the backfield because we have to protect our future. So we're kind of in a catch-22. We can either be patient with 9 or we can be patient with 17.
Right.
It's just preference at that point, and it's who gives you the best chance to win. Is Tyler playing well right now? No, I think we all agree. We've all talked about it on and off camera with each other. No,
and I will say also that at least we're discussing
bowl
this
eligible.
after a
You
win.
can't start shaking things up that bad.
I tweeted, I was like, this might be the crappiest I feel after a win because it was so ugly. But we got the win. You all gotta remember, we already have more wins than last season.
Yeah, exactly.
We're 6-2. Exactly. I predicted us to be 7-5 to finish this season before in the preseason. So have we lost the game that we should have won against Georgia Tech? Yes, but I had us losing to Clemson. I thought A&M was going to be a 50-50. Virginia always gives us their best shot. I mean, all of their ACC games have been within like 1 or 3 points or something crazy. They beat UNC last week, and Georgia Tech beat UNC this week. So, I mean, Georgia Tech's looking like a pretty decent team. But listen, we're finding ways to win even when we play really bad, and this isn't something that we do last year. So try to look on the bright side of it, and let's support TVD because he's going to be our QB1, and support him into having a really good game next weekend against NC State.
Yep, and it won't be an easy one. NC State's defense is really, really, really good. But I liked what Hoodie Girl said about the Canes family, and unfortunately, we lost a member of that family. I want to pay tribute when we come back right here on this episode of Locked On Canes. And guys, NFL season, college football rolling on. I'm having so much fun this year on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of betting against playing against thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. You can make 25 times your money. You can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps on Prize Picks. It's really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. They have quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And they have this amazing thing called the reboot policy. Prize Picks reboot policy means your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For NFL games and college football top 25 matchups, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege, all one word, and use code Locked On College for a first deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege, code Locked On College, all one word. They're going to match your first deposit. Prize Picks truly is daily fantasy made easy. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. And guys, I'm dedicating this episode, and I'm dedicating this entire week of shows to a great friend of ours who we lost, and that is Brigadier General Otto K. Liller. This one struck me and Chalupa and Hoodie Girl like a ton of bricks yesterday when we found out. First of all, I can't even begin to describe, and Chalupa, I know you and I both experienced this, what a humble man this was. He passes away doing something he loved, hiking in the wilderness in Utah. Unfortunately, suffered a heart attack at 51 years old. My heart bleeds for him and his family and his loved ones. And Otto was in every live chat, I think, for every episode I ever did. And if he wasn't, he would like unnecessarily apologize for not making it to the live chat.
Dude.
Had so many conversations with this man, and Chalupa, like I knew he was a military guy, retired special forces, but he was so humble about what he did and what he accomplished. I didn't realize until the obituaries started coming out that this man is a brigadier general, and he is commanding, and he was responsible for lives of people who served under him, a true American hero and patriot, and one of the nicest guys you would ever meet. And this is one of those things where I want to do whatever I can to keep Otto's memory going. And by the way, for those who may not know who we're talking about, you probably do. If you've ever been in a live chat for my show, and I like Hoodie Girl has him on the board for Six Ring, for the Buckets pod, for the You Heard pod, you would probably know him in the live chats as War Beast. That was his screen name. War Beast was all freaking over it. All over it. He was so active on there, and man, he was so humble. I had no idea that he was such a high-ranking commanding officer, and I feel so terrible that I didn't have a chance to get to know this man even better. God rest his soul, and Chalupa, I know he had an impact on your life as well.
For those of you guys in the Locked On chat, you guys just know it wasn't a live chat without War Beast. He was always there. I mean, I remember me and Don were talking yesterday. I remember my first ever live stream. He was the first person there, and he didn't even understand Twitch, so I had to walk him through how to download it.
Oh man,
because he's an older gentleman and he didn't understand Twitch, but he wanted to support me, so he asked, if I could help him do it. Those of you know, I call him Captain America, and I called him Captain America because he'd show me old pictures of him in the military, and he'd tell me stories, but he was so humble. He'd never tell us exactly how important he was. But I had this idea. I was like, I know you're more important than you're leading on.
Yeah.
So I always called him Cap, but he was one of just the kindest souls you'll ever meet in your life, man. He loved traveling, loved his family. He loved this football team more than anything. And he was just like the most supportive dude you'll ever meet in your life. Like, Donno's not lying. He'd miss one of my streams and I'd get a message about, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't make it, and I would tell him, like, Otto, you can watch it after, but that's just the kind of guy he was. He wanted to be there for everyone. He was a large part of this community. I mean, I know if you're a fan of any of these channels, you've seen him, you've talked to him, you've interacted with him. Just an amazing soul, and I'm grateful that I got to know him. It just puts it into perspective for you that sometimes you just got to be fortunate that you get a chance to meet kind-hearted people like that, good, genuine people. I count myself grateful that I got to know him. He felt like an old uncle, like the way, he'd be on the grill. He'd send me pictures of him of what he was grilling and cooking. I've got like 30,000 pictures of things that he's grilled, and he's just one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I will never ever forget him. The War Beast, as he's known to me, is Captain America. May you rest in peace, buddy. I know you went out doing something you love, and because of that, I know you're up there smiling. We got that W yesterday for you, man. And if I keep talking, I'm going to. So,
and by the way, I want everyone to know that's why we made a decision to say some words about Otto at the end of the show, not the beginning. Because if we had started the show, I don't think we could have finished it. And another thing, Melissa, that was so apparent about War Beast, he was University of Miami alumnus, 1993, class of 93, and boy, did he love the U. Absolutely, as we all are, obsessed with Miami sports.
I mean, I didn't know him as personally as Chalupa did. I actually never even knew his first name. I just know him from chatting it up in different show chats. And I mean, I didn't even realize he was in the military. Honestly, like I knew War Beast, the name, just from chatting it up with him in different shows. And obviously, he loved his Canes, and that brings us all together, is our love for the Miami Hurricanes. So when you it's one big family. So when you lose somebody, no matter how close you were or not, you feel it. But I love that, Chalupa had that kind of relationship with him, and how supportive he was of Chalupa. And he's still supporting you, CB.
Yes.
He's not physically here, but he's still supporting you, bro. And then, every time we talk about the Canes, every time the Canes get a dub, he's smiling down. And my condolences to his family, to his friends, to the Canes community, everyone that was close to him. That he was a special soul and did a lot more for the country than a lot of us even knew. So, rest in peace, man. We'll be thinking about you always.
Yeah, deepest condolences, and if any members of Otto's family, if you're watching or listening, just know we're praying for you. I can't even imagine what this time is like, and I know that one of Otto's best friends is a great friend of ours as well, Al. And so, Al, I just want you to know, I've spoken to Al. I know you're going through a tough time. I can't even imagine, because he and Otto are so tight. So thank you so much for your service, War Beast. And I know you're in heaven right now, hopefully listening to this. I know you probably have other stuff to do up there, but thank you for making Locked On Canes a part of your day as well. Never forgotten. 51 years old, Brigadier General Otto Liller. God rest your soul and God bless your family. So thank you guys so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. It'll be on to North Carolina State. You guys know we'll be with you every day of the week. Make sure you keep supporting, of course, Chalupa Batman, a colleague of mine at All Hurricanes. You Heard Pod. Hoodie Girl, basketball season is almost here. Buckets Pod is going to be rocking and rolling throughout. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.